So Trackx, my man, I'm so happy to have you on this podcast. Thank you for giving me the time, and I'm excited for you. I got a lot of questions. The first question is, do you remember that wedding?
Of course, man. How could I forget my man Boris? I know him a long time also, and he's family, and sat me at the right table. What a good time we had at that wedding, and like we said, motorcycles brings people together, and the bike culture never fails to unite people.
I love that, man. I'm so happy I sat next to you as well. You were the funnest dude at that wedding. There were a lot of people there, but the bike culture totally brought a lot of people together in the past, and it brought us together to have a really good time. So I got some cool questions for you. So when you were first starting out, you showed me your Instagram. I was like, dude, you really ride. I mean, you were going there like every weekend. You were on the racetrack. You were like, you need to hit up the racetrack. I still haven't done that, so I'm waiting for you to take me.
I
Um,
can't wait.
I think it's going to be a fun episode. So let's talk about motorcycles first, because I think that's such a good component of who you've become. What made you fall in love with motorcycles?
Well, since a child, I'm of Dominican descent, so Dominican culture, especially in Santo Domingo, it is the way of transportation. Even the motorcycles that are cab drivers, they call them motoconchos. So my father had a passion for motorcycles growing up in the Dominican Republic, and I remember my first time. Um, well, not my first time because I went as a baby, but my first time that I recall seeing my father go with my father to the Dominican Republic and see him get on a motorcycle, and I'm like, what is that? I want to get on. And my father told me, this is not for you. You're a kid. Be very careful. Do not touch this motorcycle. And I was just fascinated by these two wheels. Like I had a bicycle at home, but you had to pedal it. And I see him just press the gas and go so fast. When he came back, he had to warn me again, do not touch this bike. But the passion was at a young age and the curiosity of what it was, and I burned my leg severely
Oh, on the exhaust?
with the exhaust,
Oh,
trying to climb on it. And
that hurts. I bet it.
that,
And let's
that was
talk
the
about let's that's so cool, man. So it started with your father. You wanted to ride. Your dad's like, "Don't do it. It's not for you because it's dangerous," right? I think they say motorcycles are like 33% more likely you'll be in trouble or get in an accident on a motorcycle than an average car. 33 times they say, excuse me, not 33%. That's what I learned in like motorcycle school, right on the street. Um, but that's cool that you've learned from your father. You watched him do it. You kind of wanted to be like him a little bit, and then you burned your leg, which is a good lesson for everybody. And now you're like this full blown, passionate. You made a business out of this, and this channel is about business, so we're going to talk about that. Tell me particularly, why do you love Ducati so much? Because I've seen you on other bikes, but is Ducati your favorite brand in that whole spectrum?
I mean, my first bike was a Yamaha R6,
Okay.
but Ducati was always the bike that I dreamed of.
Okay. Like a
Um,
Panigale or what?
so yeah, my first bike I fell in love with Ducati was a 999R Feli edition. I was hooked. I had to
Dude,
have this bike.
I want to tell you something. I have a Ducati Fila jacket. I used to wear it when I
Oh
was,
my god!
you know what I'm talking about? Like those little thin windbreaker Ducati
Yeah.
Filas. That was so cool. I still have them. I'll send you a picture of it.
Oh,
It's
you got to.
I
You
used to
gotta
wear
send
it.
me that.
So you fell in love with the 999, the Fila edition.
And I had to have this bike. So I remember going to the dealership and inquire how much is this bike, and they told me you cannot buy this bike.
Wow.
I said no, I can. I have the money, and they said, well, it's gonna kill you. You've never ridden a motorcycle before.
Yeah.
I don't recommend it. And I'm like, why would you not want to sell me a bike? But this is Ducati New York, and to this day, they really focus on giving a client what they want, but also what they need.
Yeah,
So they're not just trying to sell you the bike. They could sell bikes to anybody, but they
sure.
want you to have a great experience with the brand. And that's another part of why I fell in love with Ducati. They really wanted to make sure I was safe and that I didn't have any regrets with my purchase. And they told me, buy yourself a lower CC bike. This is 1,000 cc bike. Look for a 400 or a 600,
Hmm.
somewhere to start and learn exactly what it is that you're doing.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what I did. You know, I listened to them, and thank God, because I definitely would have killed myself on that motorcycle.
For sure, bro. And to the audience, 1,000 cc or 1,200 cc, that's a monster. The torque on those bikes are incredible. So if you've never ridden a bike, that period, you have to kind of upgrade from a 250 cc, 400 cc to 1,000 cc. And at 1,000 cc, it's night and day difference. Would you say that correct?
One 100%.
So it's like buying it's like having your first car be a Ferrari or a LaFerrari. You just don't do that. So, although Trax, my first bike after bike school was a Panigale 1199S, which I still have to this day. And it's like riding a bull. I'm still scared of it.
Yeah,
And I haven't like learned probably the proper technique because I haven't got a chance to push that bike to where it could be pushed because I'm so scared of it.
I think a lot of us would be. I think the one of the most difficult bikes to ride from the Ducati company was the 1199 and 1299,
Yeah.
because it was just such a torquey bike, a lot of attitude. But also, this is the type of some riders are looking for that type of
Yeah.
action. Bikes have become so, especially like my new bike, my V4R, which is top of the line from Ducati. It's basically a race bike,
Yep.
but it's so docile and it gives you so much confidence in riding it due to the electronics and the progressiveness of Ducati and in their technology and in their way of building bikes for the everyday rider.
I agree, man. First of all, that's like my dream bike. I do want to upgrade to a V4 series, whether it's an S or an R, because the V4s I feel like are smoother. They're in line with maybe the BMW M bikes. Like, I have the 1000RR HP4. And when I ride that bike, and even though it's outdated in comparison to what's out there today, the BMW 1000RR HP4 is just so smooth. I feel way more confident on it. I feel like I could go into a turn. The Ducati is more fun, but I do agree with you. I think it's more of like I think you got to be a more experienced rider to really get into that. It's almost like driving a manual car in some way.
Definitely, I think that with the new bikes, it's just a ease to them, and with the older bikes, it's like you said, that's a great analogy. It's very mechanical
Yeah.
and engaging in how much you are influencing what the bike is doing. And with the new motorcycles now, it almost feels like the motorcycle's doing so much for you. You're just
Really?
along for the ride.
So here's a big question. If I come down to New York, will you let me ride your V4R, or is that or am I off limits?
I don't know. You know, the motorcycles are like your wife. You know, you wouldn't let your wife out or your girlfriend. You know,
Oh,
like
no.
you just. But I'll let you take her around the block.
Listen, after you made that analogy, I'm not riding the motorcycle and I'm not riding anybody's wife either. That's it.
Yeah, I feel so weird when people ask me like, "Yo, you want to ride my bike? Can you take my bike out on the track and tell me how it feels?" I'm like, I don't know if I want to do that.
No, no, I'm not gonna let it happen. I'm not gonna. But listen, I had an instance like that. So when I first got a bike, I think it's on my Instagram years ago. A coworker rode the bike. He's like, "Oh, I know what I'm doing," etc. Dropped the bike. Luckily, he dropped it, but not in a way where it's like he's riding while dropping it. He was just too short, and the Panigale sit a little bit high.
It's high, yeah.
They sit high, and especially the 1199 and maybe the 1299. So when he went down, he didn't realize how heavy these bikes are, and he didn't get that grip. So it slowly went down, but it's still scratched. I
Um,
replaced some things on it and so forth, but you'll see. And I was like, oh man, why did I let that guy do that? And I was bummed for like a couple weeks, right? But
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
realized,
You're trying to
get it
play
right.
it off too. You're like,
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
it's fine, it's
Yeah,
fine.
yeah, you can't play it off. And you play it off, but deep inside, you're like, God damn it, f this guy, and I regret giving it to him. So I respect that. I'll get a bike out one day there, or you'll come out here. So let's continue. Biggest differences, because I know you're a track guy. Biggest differences between riding on the street for you and on the track, and which do you like more?
Oh man, this is well, if you would have asked me when I first started riding motorcycles, I would have told you the street, man. But after my first time on the track, I realized that the track is the place to be. I mean, imagine, right? You're not worried about police. There's no speed limit.
Wow.
There's nobody texting on the street. There's on
Yeah.
the track. There's nobody drinking on the track. Like you're not concerned with so many things that we're worried about on the street. No pedestrians crossing or anything to worry about. Everyone's going in the same direction. I mean, it's just total freedom to push your bike and yourself to the limits in the safest place possible. Imagine you on the street with no worries. And then the track is designed, most importantly, for you to crash on it.
Yeah.
So the track is designed to give you the best scenario for performance and the best scenario for worst case scenario, which is a crash. So there's no barriers for you to crash into. Um, no trees.
No
You
car
have
that's gonna run
you
over you,
exactly. You got runoff, no light poles, you know?
right?
So it's really designed for you to have that sense of security and that need
Yeah.
for perfect performance.